Hello and welcome to this IndexGain tutorial video. I'm going to show you how to use the player comparison report as part of the BuzzPro suite of advanced reports for football index traders and premium members on IndexGain. Just head over to the price analysis category where there's lots of reports all to do with player data from player dashboards. So if you just want to view one dashboard with all the data for that one player, we're going to have a look at player comparison. So we're going to head over to player comparison report, and here it comes, the player comparison tool. And as it loads, you'll see by default that there's some players preset that have been selected. However, the two players I really want to focus on are Banega, who is a Seville midfielder, and Cruz. And another one that I always hear mentioned is the Bayern Munich midfielder, Thiago. So I'm going to compare those three midfielders, and what I see is some candlestick visuals. On the left we have performance dividends and performance buzz distribution data, and on the right we have media buzz data. So as you can see, these three players aren't really focused on the Premiership, or they're not UK based, so the media scores are going to be relatively low. However, we do have this one big spike here for Toni Kroos, where, if I remember correctly, around September time he may have been linked to Manchester United. So lots of news stories about Kroos moving to Man United, generating a lot of buzz. So we can see that Kroos has had some sort of history before, and that might be a research point for a trader to go and have a look at what they can find regarding Toni Kroos around the September time. So a good little way to use that particular piece of data. On the left here we've got performance buzz, which is much more relevant for these three players. So we can see that the averages here by the white dots, which is the means, are not too different. So 137 for Banega, 133 for Alcantara, and 140 for Kroos. So if I was to split some budget up, I'd be looking at these average figures, and they're not too far. So we need another piece of data, and one other piece of data that I might use is peak score, and that's represented by this candlestick here. So the one that's further out presents their top score. So you can see here Kroos by far reached a higher score than the other two, and there's not too much difference between Banega and Alcantara either. So very quickly I can see that from a peak scores and average perspective, and distribution of scores here as well, represented by the light grey and the dark grey. The bigger the green dot represents dividend wins, so I can see that there's bigger dots actually for Banega. So even though Kroos has a higher score, Banega has more of these bigger dots, implying that he's won more dividends. So again, a good way of comparing PB data and dividend win data, all kind of side by side. In the middle here we've got if your preferred method of viewing data is by individual numbers and columns, we can see here very quickly all of their football index type data, as well as on the right here we've got more match data. So we can see that Banega has played 22 games, whereas Alcantara has played 13. You might question why, and I know off the top of my head it's because of injury. Banega has scored 7, whereas the other two haven't scored as many. Game-winning goals, how many shots as well. So you can see here that Banega wins the shots metric as well, and how many on target. So you can see from a performance perspective what actually happens on the pitch, how that's translated on Football Index, and actually how many dividends are won. So you can see here at the bottom as well, the price charts tend to follow the same trend. Alcantara is much more higher priced, whereas Banega is kind of the cheaper. However, when we look at the stats, Banega's stats were better than Alcantara's, but Alcantara has been injured for best part of the season as well, so he's picked up injuries along the way. What does this mean? So we may take, okay, is it the age factor? Ages 27 and 30, is that why Alcantara has that slight bit of premium? Because he's 27, he's younger than Banega, and Kroos sits in the middle age 29. So lots of factors here that we can pick up using the player comparison tool on IndexGain as part of the BuzzPro suite of reports.